Hey everyone, welcome back to the podcast. Thanks for stopping by. We got a good conversation on the table tonight. It's a subject that I've been wanting to talk about for a while. It's why casual dining restaurants should embrace a strong, value-driven wine list. And I don't think many of them do. And I think they're missing the boat a little bit. And I have a guest tonight. Hector Ramirez is my guest. And it's a topic that him and I talked about, and we agreed this would be a fun discussion for us to have because I think we're aligned, Hector.
Yeah, we're definitely on the same page.
And by the way, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. This is so exciting.
First time I've been able to have you on the show, so I'm excited to do this, and I'm hoping, if you're okay with me after this, maybe you'll come back.
I would love to. I'm already ready to come back. I haven't even left.
So let's just start with this. Let's talk about our topic a little bit. Where do you think this perception comes from? When we think wine, we think dining out, right away people go, hold on, that's a lot of money. You're talking fine dining and you're talking expensive bottles of wine, just retail, not even considering what the markup at that restaurant might be. There's this perception that if you say, hey, let's go out for dinner and wine, it's got to be at this fancy place. Any thoughts on where that comes from?
I think it comes from
the snobbery of winery?
Yeah, the snobbery of winery. So I think it comes from a multitude of things. So one, it's like from a business perspective, wine is expensive, and then you have to somehow sell it, and you need somebody to sell it, and you think you need a somm to sell it, and then all of that is already cost, right? And then from a consumer's perspective, like you either don't know anything about wine and you're just going to get whatever cheap thing is on the shelf and it doesn't matter to you. But if you're an educated consumer, then you kind of go in there and you see the cheap bottle of wine and you're like, well, like they're not trying or they don't know or something. So I think that it's just like maybe just like a gap that just hasn't been bridged. Like there's no like hero of like the cheap wine list, right?
I think that's a great way to put it. There's this gap. And I think that's exactly what it is. I think just in the world in general, we all have, kind of gotten down the rabbit holes of all these things, whether you're into coffee or wine or whiskey or gardening for that matter. I mean, if you get into gardening, you're into gardening. You're looking up articles, you're reading blogs, you're on YouTube looking at things. So you're down that rabbit hole. You want to learn as much as you can. And I think that's true with food and wine. You want great dishes and you want great bottles of wine to enjoy. And I think there's always been this perception that if you go to a casual dining, fine wine, and we need to talk about fine wine. What qualifies it as being fine wine? But fine wine doesn't belong there. And, I'm going to be the first to say I disagree because I don't think fine wine is a price-driven kind of, determining factor for being fine or not wine or not fine.
Correct. I agree.
You agree?
Mm-hmm.
So I want to talk a little bit today about, us kind of busting the myth, debunking this, and also, a little bit about to restaurant places, different restaurants and communities, why they should be embracing. Maybe I need to look at my wine menu a little bit more, and maybe I need to give it some better thought. And a guy like you, because let's talk a little bit about what you do. You're a content creator, but you're also a consultant. Tell everybody a little bit about your background, kind of where you are in your wine journey as far as education, and what you do here in Houston in the community to help folks with wine.
Sure. So my name is Hector Ramirez. I was the wine buyer for Sonoma Wine Bar for about 4 years. Left in the beginning of December. It's pretty much just like the end of my rope, like kind of capped at what I could do there. And I kind of just wanted to branch out on my own. I was kind of stuck there. And have a very entrepreneurial mindset. So I had built like a car detailing business out before, and then I did a digital marketing business. Then I picked up Sonoma part-time during COVID and kind of like grew into that. It was a great time. I learned so much. Like I wouldn't be anywhere with wine if I didn't do this. But then once I left there, I got into different things, and I was like, I still am craving that, like the wine itch, right? Like I'm already in. And so then I started, one of my friends who runs a Eat and Plant company, Irving, he used to buy wine from us at Sonoma and eventually got his wine license. And so now that he has his wine license, he could buy wine wholesale. So I went out there and I told him exactly how to buy wine from like having the experience doing so. And he, after like a week or two, he was like, can I just pay your consulting fee for you to do it for me? Because this is so much work, and it is a lot of work. And it's like, I guess when I see it from my perspective, it's a little simpler because I did it for so long, and so it's just like mechanical of like, okay, we'll ask for like the by the glass pricing. Like I know what performs well with people, but if you haven't drank enough wine, then it's daunting. Like it's a lot of things. Like the price, like comparing prices to quality to taste to, like you're saying, like the what was the word you used? The high end or the
fine wine?
The fine wines,
Yeah.
like what? Yes, fine wines in regards to what, like the name or the price or the what? Like, so it's just, I think it's difficult, and for somebody in like the smaller restaurants, it's probably like, it looks like a really big expense, and you don't know if it's going to pay off, and also you probably don't know much about wine other than the like, just going.
Well, and the place you're consulting is cool. And if you're here in Houston and you're listening to this, go check it out, because this is a nursery.
Yeah.
This is a gentleman who owns this nursery, and he's, we see this popping up a lot with wine bars, or I've seen bookstores that have turned into, hey, we're a bookstore, but we've incorporated wine into kind of what we do. And this is a nursery who's kind of taking the same approach. And, you're going out on a Saturday, you're like, hey, let's go look for plants. Hey, if I'm going to go look for plants, I might as well have a nice chilled white in my hand while I'm walking around or something. Is that something that you can do there?
Yeah, it's awesome. It's so it started off as a plant and coffee shop.
Okay.
And it started off in the Post Houston, which was like the old post office. Yeah. And then they outgrew the small like office space they had, and they moved to Edo. And they had a space there for like a year or two, and then grew it into pretty much what it is right now. And then that lease ended, and then Post wanted them back, and so now they have pretty much a whole floor on Post, and then they have the plant shop, the coffee shop, and everything goes into like what they do. Like their whole thing is just like things that matter. Like everything is cared for. Like his mom is the one that cares for all the plants. Like everything is like familial. Like it's like his family and like close friends and second opportunities and like that for everybody. Like it's just a wholesome space. And so when he got the winery license, I was like, or the wholesale license, I was like, I need to pick something that will kind of go with this, right?
Sure.
And it's like, and they're not going to have a floor somm or anything. So my idea was like, let me pick out bottles that have one really high shelf appeal, so that if you don't know anything about wine, you're at least drawn to the art, or like.
So the label matters.
Correct, it does. the label is so important.
Yeah.
And I've actually thought about like starting an entire business just dedicated to like, let me redo your label, because like some of the wines that are out there, I'm like, this is such a good wine, but this is never going to sell on a shelf. Like it's just that you didn't even try, right?
Unless
like,
you know the producer or know the bottle.
Right.
This is,
And so that's a big issue, but I feel like the winemakers that don't care about the label are never going to care about the label, and they're not going to care to pay to fix the label. But maybe that's just short-sighted, right? But definitely shelf appeal, and then like pricing, like the way that you price everything also matters, because you don't want to price somebody out of a certain price point.
Right.
And so my whole objective for the wine list was pick something with high shelf appeal, and something that like I want, well, also organic, biodynamic farming, like nothing you could get at like a Total Wine or a Specs or something, just for the sole purpose of like, I want it to be.
Which, let me interrupt you there, probably means it's not mass produced.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Something, a smaller producer that like, I'm not sitting here buying 1,000 cases at a time, like, just a couple cases at a time for this small shop, but like, it's just more meaningful, and everything has a story.
Which also makes it cool, because that means inventory's turning over. That means, you come in this month, you see some fun bottles. In a month or so, you come back because you're doing something, and maybe you're not shopping for plants. You just want to come in and have another glass of wine.
Yep.
But the shelf might look a little different. Might be some other fun bottles on there. So this is turning over quite a bit, probably.
Yeah, it's actually doing pretty well. And then the stuff that hasn't been turning over well, so like we just bought a bunch of Greek wine, and it just kind of sat there. But I love the Greek wine, but I knew it had no shelf appeal. And so whenever I bought it, I asked the rep from the distributor she'd just have to host a class for it, because I knew that it would move once people tried it and like you told them about it.
They're just not going to buy it not knowing.
Right. Yeah. Like it's on a shelf, and not knowing the info, it's not going to do it for you unless you know wine.
Money out of your pocket. Why take that risk for something you may not like?
Right.
Yeah. No, fair point.
So then we did the class a little earlier today, and I just sold 2 or 3 cases of wine.
There you go. And you're nice enough to do that, and then still come out and hang out with me a little bit.
Yeah, of course.
Appreciate that.
I wouldn't miss it for the world.
Yeah. I do want to talk a little bit, just for clarification, casual dining. People are going, okay, well, what does that mean? Do you have a definition? I'm not talking Chili's. I'm not talking, TGIF or Olive Garden or any of these things. Although Olive Garden you're an Italian restaurant. Come on, we can do better on our wine menu than what they're doing.
Yep.
I'm talking about, I'm being honest. I'm not looking at chain places, but I think most communities have a handful, if not a ton, like here in Houston, of restaurants owned by, mom and pop. These are family-owned restaurants. And I'm going to tell you, it's not expensive. It's not this, snobbery. You don't have to wear a jacket and slacks and all this stuff to go. It's very casual. It's very welcoming. You feel like you get to know the owners of it. That's the casual dining that we're talking about.
Yeah.
And do you agree with me on that?
Yes.
Okay.
100%.
Because I also want to tie that into the food's absolutely delicious. We're not talking about a place that you go just because it's on the corner. It's a place that already has this reputation of you make badass food. Your food rocks. It could be a pizza joint, and that might be one of the bigger ones that we need to talk about because pizza and wine are like, peanut butter and jelly.
Yep.
But that's what I wanted to make sure that the audience understood is that we're talking about places that are really great food, great menus, good price, comforting, great ambiance, cool environment. People are friendly. Come in, hang out with us, eat our food. But I want a good bottle of wine when I come here. So that's the kind of place we're talking about today.
Yeah.
What's your experience with these kind of places? I mean, when you go, do you have some disappointment with the wine list when you see it?
Yeah, honestly, generally any of the smaller mom and pop shops, I feel like if they do have wine, it's something I generally don't want to drink.
It might be questionable if it's wine.
Right.
Yeah.
And then two, if they don't have anything I want to drink, I probably would just do a cocktail.
Okay. Or a beer.
Or a beer, yeah. But I actually don't drink a lot of beer, so I probably would just skip out.
Yeah.
But if it's a BYOB place, that's always.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, Hector,
it's always the move.
My wife, BYOB are my favorite places.
Yeah.
And, and typically here in this market, Asian places are.
Yeah, I was going to say Thai food is one of my favorites, and that's usually where I go to BYOB.
By the way, tell people what you got in the glass for us. This is a delicious little rosé we got.
Oh,
Portugal?
Yeah.
I saw.
So we're talking about value stuff. I figured I would bring.
Yeah.
You
talk about a whole country that's value. I mean, people think port, but we're talking about still whites and reds.
Yeah. So this is what is the name of this producer? Santola. So this is Vino Rosé. So this is out of Portugal. And we're talking about like value restaurants. So this is something that I think would be so great for like any mom and pop restaurant that would perform really well. Because one, this is very cheap wholesale. And I mean, even on the shelves.
What's retail on it?
$10.
Oh, man.
And so the reason that I have this wine in particular actually is because for my wine page, I take like requests on like what people want, and so people are like, "Oh, rosés under $20, natural wines in Sugarland," like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so somebody messaged me jokingly and she said, "Are you taking niche requests? Because I would love a rosé that I can shake my ass at the pool to." And so I went and I looked over a bunch of rosés, and then this was like, this is gonna do the trick, and I know it's from Portugal, and it's only and like. In my head, like all jokes aside, I was like, okay, shake your ass too. That means you want to get like sloshed at the pool. Yeah. And if I want to get sloshed at the pool and not wake up with a hangover, I still want something semi-quality, but I'm not going to go and buy 20 Provence rosés, right?
Yeah.
But with this one, I mean, at $10, you can buy 3 or 4 of these, have a really good time with a good group of people, and still wake up fine the next morning.
Does this have some skin contact to it?
Yeah, it definitely does. Yeah, that's where you get that like orangish, like pinkish hue from it.
Yeah, and I'm telling you,
does.
If it doesn't remind me of Provence, Provence to me, I'm not a fan.
Yeah,
I need a little oomph on my rosé, so I'm going to go to Tavel.
Okay,
typically.
Sweet. Oh, nice.
This kind of had a little structure to it, a little more oomph on it, and I liked that. And
it has more of that like watermelon, like strawberry thing going on.
Yeah,
that is
absolutely. Fun. Yeah, this is delicious, and at $10 retail,
it's crazy.
$10-12, whatever it is.
Yeah,
low alcohol, 10.5% I'm seeing. So you're not, I know a lot of people with whites or rosés, they like a little bit lower alcohol. This is, I can see where this would be great at the poolside, refreshing, nice and chilled.
And also, we're in Houston, and it's 150 degrees year round.
We get as you say, we get 10 months of summer here. Yeah. So, okay, going back to, I did an episode with my wife not too long ago. No, actually, it was with Travis Thompson. That wine goes with everything. You know, too many times people think that, well, if we're going to have wine, I got to cook something fancy. You know, getting
Right.
back to even at home, and this is part of this discussion again today is that wine goes with everything. So when you look at restaurants, burgers, tacos, pizza, you know, street food for that matter.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
it goes with everything. So I think getting people who like wine to get out of this, well, if I have wine, I got to have something nice to eat. It's trying to break them of that mold a little bit.
Yeah. It definitely pairs with everything. And then just in the quick little things that you've listed out, like street food, 100% with wine. Like one of my favorite pairings I've had in my entire life was a street tacos and then the Pedro Paras and so. Like it was just that combo was just like the onions and cilantro with the like carbonic and the spice of this and so. Like it was just everything for me. And it's just like those little things where it's just like, imagine you're at, you know, just like a taco truck and they happen to have, you know, the bubbles of white and red. Like, why would they have that? There's got to be a reason. You know, somebody's going to take the jump and somebody's going to like, hold on, they're onto something. And then they're going to tell somebody and they're going to come back. And like, that's the idea, right? But I think one, either nobody's pushing it hard enough or two, like whoever's in charge is just like too scared to make the jump or something. But like, I can almost guarantee you, like the Som community is so solid and so tight knit that like, if you get one good Som to come try your tacos and Senso pairing at your street food truck, like everybody's gonna know.
Let me take the other side of that, kind of the double-edged swords.
Yeah,
I always hear Soms or people in the industry, whether it's distributors or people in education, talking about, you know, we've got to make wine more accessible. We got to take away this perception of snobbery, this perception of you got to spend a lot of money to drink wine, this kind of stuff.
Right.
But I don't really see them doing that. What I mean by that is, you know, we still get invited to some wine dinners and we'll go, but it's fancy. I mean, I just told you we went to one at B&B Butcher we got invited to, and it's like, okay, it's nice. It's nice. But I think if you want to get people who may not be wine drinkers to try it and see what, you know, how wine and food can go together and how they're meant to go together and how great they are, I think that the community needs to do a better job, meaning producers, sommeliers, distributors, everybody who is pushing wine, even restaurants. Let's throw them in there too. They got to do a better job of having wine or you know, closing that gap or you know, getting into that arena of you don't have to have expensive food. You know, you don't have to, and wine can go with everything that you're having. You know, I just think that's still an issue. I don't think the wine community pushes that enough.
Yeah, you're definitely right. And I don't know why.
I'd love to go to a wine dinner where they go, hey, look, we're going to make 4 different kinds of pizzas, and I'm going to show you 4 different wines that would go with these different pizzas. That would be great.
Right. Yeah, you did mention that. It's like every wine dinner you get invited to, it's $150, $250 kind of thing. It's like, yeah, where is the like $45 burger and Syrah pairing?
Yeah.
Right? Like,
yeah.
You're right.
So I think, you know,
not even that. Like a burger and Syrah is probably $30. That.
So I'm pushing at the you know, the world of wine producing makers, sellers, all this kind of stuff to do a better job of, you know, coming in and I get it. They want to make it this kind of exclusive kind of thing, but it doesn't always need to be. You know, I just think we need to do a better job of making it inclusive to people who, if you want them to drink wine, put it with food that they're already eating and show them how wine can work with that, instead of saying you have to have a filet or you have to have duck or you have to have whatever, you know.
Yeah. I think maybe we just need like the ambassadors of people to push that movement, you know.
We're trying.
We're probably sitting right here.
We're trying. So, what would you say, you know, the benefits are for a casual, under the definition we gave, casual dining establishment? You know, what's the benefit to them if they're listening, somebody's listening going, well, why, maybe I should think about it. But, you know, it's always that, what's in it for me? Mm-hmm. If I put in the effort, spend a little money, upgrade my wine list, what's in it for me and how does that work? Do I have to get a Som now? How does this going to work?
Right. So no, you definitely don't need to get a Som. You probably do need to get somebody to just like look over the list, like it, and that doesn't
like
even,
a Hector.
Like a Hector. Yeah. That doesn't even mean like pay me money. I will tell you, like just somebody knows a Som somewhere, or like you're at a wine bar anywhere.
You mind if I pour you some?
I would love some.
You want a rinse or you good?
No, just go ahead. Okay. Thank you. Like, go to a wine bar anywhere, and I guarantee you, almost any som worth their salt will gladly tell you what pairs with your food. Like, and they would be so excited, and then the first thing you got to do is be like, all right, cool, I'm gonna buy those, and they're gonna be so excited that you even listen to them, and then there you go. Now you've got him and his girl or boy, and they're gonna bring people, and they're gonna have a good time, and then they're gonna tell somebody, and then it's just gonna like be a thing, right? And also like the markup on wine is pretty solid, so like you have that return of like usually whatever you pay for the bottle is what you charge by the glass, right?
Yeah.
So let's say you buy a case, you spend, I'd call it $200. We're talking cheap wine, so let's assume it's $12 wholesale. You spend $150 on a case of wine, right? You sold, all you need to do is sell 12 glasses, and you've already done it, right? That's 3 of your bottles. You still have 9 bottles to go to make even more money.
And you can still sell it by the bottle too for a table,
Right.
and still make money.
Correct.
And that's something else that we need to talk about. You know, when
And then people take bottles home, like especially once you have the pairing, and people are like, wait, like if you have wine on its own, great, but like wine and food together like amplify everything. And so like if you have a solid pairing of like Syrah and a burger, and I'm only saying it because the burgers, right? But like
we're doing smash burgers tonight, so it's on deck.
So like if you have the solid pairing, like, and you have it with the pairing, you're like, oh my god, that's everything. And then you're like, I'll take a bottle, I'll take 2 bottles, I'll take however many bottles, right?
Well, even if you're like, well, look, we're going in for a burger. I'd love to have that Syrah, looks badass. I'd love to have it, but I'm probably not going to finish it. Well, you're still allowed to put a cork in it,
right,
and take it home with you and finish it the next day or later that night at home watching a show. So
Especially,
that shouldn't prevent you from buying a bottle.
And then, especially in Texas,
Yeah,
like
in
Texas
Texas
is like you do
It's a
whatever.
good point. I don't know if that's the case everywhere. I think it probably is because the states I've been to, even if they sell liquor, you can still bring your wine in.
Yeah.
Texas, you can't. But
Yeah,
so
but they'll let you take your wine, and
Yeah.
you just cork it, take it, put it in the fridge.
yeah,
It'll be good for 2 or 3 days.
absolutely. Absolutely.
And it probably won't last you that long.
Now, I do want to touch on people going, okay, you guys keep talking about this wine stuff, going with all this food, and I'm curious, I'm interested. But again, you talked about wine doesn't need to be expensive.
Mm-hmm.
You can get, and you know, there's a little bit of correlation, and I say a little bit, there's correlation to the cost of the bottle versus the quality that you're getting. But at a certain point, the law of diminishing return comes in. I always think it's between $50 and $60. Then you start to flatten out a little bit, and it becomes more hype and whatever marketing.
Yeah.
Camus. But let's talk about, you know, where's some price points that we think you can get really badass wines that could be in these kind of establishments.
Sure. The price points at wholesale or retail?
No, retail. So,
Okay.
well, let's just say, you know, let's just talk about what it would be retail and then what it might be if you're going to buy a bottle. We already know if that's the retail price, that's probably by the glass price.
Sure. So one thing I'll note is that first off, it depends where you're getting it from, right? Like if you're buying a Napa cab, which is what most people are used to, that's going to be expensive to you and expensive to the consumer.
Can I make a note?
Mm-hmm.
Get the fuck out of Napa.
All right, cool. Yeah.
I mean, not to you. I'm telling you,
yes.
if that's all you're drinking, go
Yeah.
try something else. And Napa's fine.
Yeah.
But to your point, it's expensive. So you're probably not going to see a big Napa cab in what we're talking about anyway. So
Right. Like go try Sonoma Mountain, Sonoma County, Paso Robles, like
Santa
Chile,
Barbara.
Argentina.
Yeah.
Like just there's so many other regions out there, and Napa's great if you're doing your thing, but like for the purposes of this argument of like value wine or wine that pairs with like local foods and everything like that, get the fuck out of Napa. Yeah. I'd say look more regions like Portugal, Chile, Argentina,
Chiantis.
Yeah, I mean they're generally really inexpensive, and most of the European regions, I mean they all have what are they called? Not incentives, like the farmers get
A consortium?
no, not a consortium. There's a word for it. What is it called? It's like a kickback from the government for growing X amount of grapes or whatever.
Yeah, I know what you're talking
subsidies.
about. Subsidies.
So like
yeah.
generally European countries like Italy, France, like there's subsidies involved. So like something that costs $10 on the shelf from Italy, I can almost guarantee you is way better than something that costs $10 on the shelf from Napa.
Sure.
Like there's no doubt about that.
Not even close. I
Yeah.
mean, the floor for Napa for me for something of good quality in today didn't used to be this way, but probably $40 to $50 is probably the floor.
Yeah.
Maybe 35, 40, but somewhere around there.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
And then,
But I would say for whites, you could be in the range for a retail price. Let's just say 12. Because of this rosé, 12 to $25, and you're gonna have options. You're gonna have all kinds of bottles that could fall into that category
right.
at retail. So let's just say this is a casual dining. You're not fine dining, so you don't have this expensive real estate. That's part of the problem when you're in a fine dining establishment. They're usually in a building or a location that is a high rent district, which they got to cover that real estate. That's part of the wine program that covers that cost. Most of our mom and pop places that we love, we call it a hole in the wall for the reason, right?
Yep.
It's a little shop around the corner or whatever it is.
Yep.
So you got to mark it up, you got to make money. But even if you did it, a $20 bottle of wine, you sold it for $40, $45. That's great, you know.
Yeah, and one thing I found is like so generally the markup for higher end places is anywhere between like 4 to 4.5, sometimes even 5x, which is insane. Yeah, like I mean, if you go to a steakhouse, that's the markup.
It's like Papa's is going to be 4 to 5 times the retail price of that bottle
easily. But I mean, you're paying for it, right? Like you're in the atmosphere. Like you drop your fork, like somebody's already picked it up before it even like hits the ground, right? So you're paying for that atmosphere, and it's fine. Like if I'm in those settings, like
I'm never in those settings, Hector. So.
It's always worth it for me.
Glad you are.
It's always worth it for me. Like I have a great time. Like I paid $100 for a spoon of Tokai Essentia from a crystal spoon.
Really?
Yeah, it was $96, I think. But it was delicious, and I had never had Tokai Essentia.
Sweet wine is from Hungary, for if you don't know what this is. Yeah.
Yeah, and it takes like 7 years to make one barrel of it. So it's insanely expensive, and it literally just tastes like very high quality honey.
Yeah.
But I thought it was worth it. But like,
for those experiences,
but that's like you go in there to like flex or celebrate or whatever. But like day to day, like I'm going to Papa's Steakhouse once, maybe twice a year, right?
Yeah.
But however, I've been to like what's the name of the Thai place right by my house? There's a Thai place right by my house called
you stopped looking at the sign because you just
like
go
Sao Lao. Yeah, it's like Asian Market Sao Lao, and it's like
it's not Sao Lao, is it?
It's
Have you ever been there?
Oh, it is Sao Lao. Yeah. So it's Sao Lao, and then there's Asia Market Thai Lao. So there's two of them by my house, and I go back and forth between the two, but I go there 2 or 3 times a week, right? Yeah. Like I love Thai food. And those places are BYOB, so like I get to bring my own stuff in there, and I like
absolutely.
To me, it's like a great time to just take a bottle, like put some headphones in, get some work done, like just go by myself. I go with friends sometimes, but usually friends are like, I have to worry about like their spice levels and all the things, and I'm just like, this is just easy.
I'll be honest with you. When my wife and I, when we do go out, we love to hang out and cook at home. But when we do go out, we're looking at places that are either BYOB or do they have a
decent wine list?
Yeah. And there's some places that we've went, and because my wife's like, I really want to try the food, and I look at the wine list and it's just not very good. But they sell alcohol, so I can't take my own wine. And we'll go have dinner, and I just won't drink there. And then we'll head up to Padres or something, a wine bar after, and just go chill and open a bottle of white and sit and enjoy. But to me, they're missing out by not having a better wine list there, because I would have bought a bottle.
Yeah, because like the PPA would just double, right? Like if you go, you have like, depends, I guess, what you're doing, but like Italian food, right? You get a cup of minestrone soup, chicken parm, tiramisu, $42, right? If you had a bottle of Chianti at $42, that would have been a no-brainer for me. Like,
absolutely,
you probably paid $13 for that bottle and sold it for $42. You made money. I'm happy with my Chianti and my food. Like,
absolutely,
win-win. You just doubled your PPA.
Yep, absolutely. So that's part of this conversation is just, we want people to rethink their approach to wine, because I think sometimes restaurants have this. I don't know if they do or not. Maybe they're just missing how much people enjoy wine, but still eat their type of food. I don't want to say that they think, because their food's fantastic. So it sounds like I'm going to go, simple food. So this kind of food doesn't go with wine. It does, and they make badass food. I'm trying to figure out how I say this right, but they need to think about the people who are into wine. That gap that we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, I agree. And also, I think maybe another issue is the fact that like maybe they think they're gonna buy a case of wine and people are gonna come in droves, just like, oh, I must have the wine. But I think you need to build it, have it established, market it somehow. Like even if it's just posting like, hey, our sommelier friend just told us to pick up this bottle of vino verde to pair with whatever, I don't know, I can't even think, whatever cuisine, right?
Yeah.
Come try it. It pairs with this, and then like just like that, like even just the most basic marketing, like somebody somewhere is gonna see that. They're gonna be like, oh wow, this place has this and this, and
Absolutely.
then they tell somebody, like, and that's just how it works.
I do want to say if you're considering, hey, we're trying to get into a wine program into our restaurant. One, if you're in Houston, hit Hector up on social media. By the way, we didn't mention that you're on Instagram at It's Wine 30.
It's Wine 30. It's always Wine 30 over here.
You can hit him up there, follow him there, and shoot him a DM, and he'd be happy to come consult and help you with that.
Yeah.
But I want to make this comment. You can tell me if I'm too much of a snob for saying this. If you're going to have a wine list, some fucking decent glasses.
Yeah. And yeah, I guess so. I care about my glasses less.
Do you really?
Like if I get,
I'm a glass snob, man.
I also am a glass snob, but like if I'm going to like a cheaper place and I'm not paying a 4.5x markup, give it to me in a plastic cup for all I care. Yeah, like it's just like, I mean, if I'm gonna buy a $200 bottle, yes, I want some Zaltos. But if I'm not, then
I'll tell you a story. My wife and I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago. Again, this falls into the casual dining. Diners, drive-ins, and dives. He did a show on an Italian place right on the water out in California, just outside of Orange County. And my wife and I were out there on a little vacation. I was like, let's go hit this place up. It's BYOB. We saw it on the show that you can bring your own wine. We didn't see the glassware. So we went down to this wine shop and we bought a really nice Amarone. Spent like $100 and some bucks on a bottle. Went there and they brought us our wine glasses. And they were like 2 inches tall and about this big around. And I didn't want to open the bottle. And my wife was like, open the damn bottle. And I opened it. And I'm like,
I'll drink it out of the bottle.
Nothing, So it was no experience of enjoying this. So
that's tough with an Amarone, but I mean, honestly, you'll be fine. Like at least in my end, maybe that is.
I'm a snob, Hector. I'm a snob. My wife will tell you we go to places and at BYOB, I'm taking my own glasses.
I mean, yeah. You probably should just carry glasses with you.
I'm a jerk.
But no, like, have you been to Kalina's before?
No.
Kalina's is BYOB, and it's like a mom and pop Italian shop. I think there's 3 locations in Houston. There's one in the Heights right by where I live on 19th and like Shepherd.
Okay.
And that's like, to me, it's like the staple. Like when I'm saying cup of minestrone, chicken parm, tiramisu, that's my order there, and I know it's $43. So it's like that's what came to mind. But like I go there and I either bring like just a subpar like Arnaise or Chianti, just anything that's like just in my wine fridge that I'm not gonna think about drinking. And yeah, they give you the like chunky short glasses, but like to me that's so funny because there's this meme I saw that was like, you're about to have the best food in your life when your wine glasses look like this. And it's true because it's like the mom and pop is like they're cooking and they're just like, here's a fucking glass, do whatever you need with it, right? Like.
Yeah, I can tell you another funny story. My wife and I were out at an Asian restaurant we went to the first time. We called them, and they said, yeah, it's BYOB, and I didn't take glasses. She's like, they'll be fine. We had to have my son bring me up some glasses. That's how bad I am.
You Instacart some glasses.
Bring them up to me. I had my son come by, pick them up, and bring them up to us. I said, we'll just get an appetizer, have some water until we get the wine glasses.
That's funny.
That's how bad I am, Hector.
But I mean, it's one of those things. It's like you're saying, like the overhead of different things. So it's like my buddy Chad runs Imperial Wine in Sugarland.
Okay.
And so he doesn't have a dishwasher at the establishment or like running water.
Yeah.
Right. So he's just a wine bar, but he pours wine, whatever. But I was like, what do you do for glasses? And he's like, we just have plastic cups. I was like, and people don't care. He's like, well, that's the thing with like his pricing. He only 2X's his bottles. So it's like you're getting it so cheap.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, it's in a plastic cup. I mean, go home. Or he's like, or people just bring their own glassware.
There you go.
And I was like, is it a problem? And he was like, for the people that it is, it's like they just don't know. But then I have this shelf of just like mismatched wine glasses that just kind of show up. and I give them those. And so if they break them or if they take them or anything, then it's no harm, no foul for
Yeah,
me.
he
Like
didn't
I'm
pay
not
for 'em.
paying for them.
Yeah.
But usually they have a good time. The bottles are cheap. They ordered more than they would normally because they're so cheap. And then they
Absolutely.
come back the next time with their own glassware or Yetis or like something else. So
But that's a good point about, what we're talking about. If you have wines, if you have them at a good price point, um, if I go to a place that the food is fantastic and you have a good little wine list like that, I'm going back.
Yeah.
And I'm going back sooner rather than later because the food's great
Correct.
and I get some decent bottles of wine.
Have you been to Portofino before?
No, it's been a place that several people have told me to go right there on Old Katy Road.
We should go.
Okay. Yeah.
Portofino, their business model makes no sense to me. But I mean, it makes sense because they're making money and they're
But you
growing.
can bring in your own wine.
Can you? Oh, you
Yeah.
can bring in your own wine. Yeah, you can be a
Yes.
wet bee. And the other crazier thing is their pricing on their bottles is absolutely insane. So I won't recommend this business model because like they figured it out and they've got their market. I don't know how long they've been open, probably 10 years at this point. But like he's got this dedicated
Only
like
5 or 6
crowd.
years now. 19 he opened.
Oh, is that what it is? Okay.
Yeah.
But he's got this like dedicated crowd of buyers. But like the thing that struck me was like the first time that I went, I was looking at the wine price and I was like, this is so cheap. And like, mind you, I know what all the prices are like wholesale. It's like
Yeah.
my savant thing the only thing I can do is I can remember every wine price wholesale. And it's very helpful when I'm buying wine or like consulting
Sure.
or selling people wine or whatever. But like I remember specifically going there and Cade was, speaking of Napa Cab, Howell Mountain Cab, right? Cade was 108 by the bottle. And I was like, how is it? Or it was 109.
That's cheap.
I was like, how the fuck is it 109? It wholesales at 102. And then luckily the people that I was with was like, oh, I'll introduce you to, I can't remember his name, Bill or something, the owner, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I'd love to talk to him. And then I talked to him and I was like, dude, how the fuck are you selling Cade at 109? He goes, let me ask you this. What do you sell Cade for? And I go, 240. And then he goes, how much Cade have you sold in the last month? And I go, 2 bottles maybe. He goes, I've sold 50 cases. So it's just like he is volume on volume on volume. Like he's killing it on volume. It's like it seems like a lot of work, but I mean it's working for him, and he makes money from the restaurant side.
Yep.
More than anything, and the wine side just brings in the people that want to come and have a good time and eat and bring
Great bottle of
bottles and
wine.
bring friends with money and
Yeah.
like the whole thing. So it's this ecosystem of things. Like the people that like to eat and drink well, like they all stick together. And like you said, like I don't want to go and open a nice bottle of wine with somebody that's like just gonna drink it like water.
Doesn't know
right?
anything about it, not even going to think about it.
Right.
Yeah.
But however, I'll open this rosé all day. I enjoy it and they'll enjoy it and they
Yep.
won't know any better.
That's
Like,
exactly right. That's exactly right. That's a great point. I need to check that place out. Several people have told me I need to go by and check it out. I kind of did a little research on him in the story. I know he opened up another place, I think in the Woodlands or Cypress or somewhere up in
maybe.
that area. Yeah, they opened up another one. So-
And now they apparently have he just got his liquor license, and so he has like a speakeasy or like a private room or a private bar or something next to it.
well, maybe you can't bring in bottles anymore then if it's tied to that.
No, because it's a separate building.
It is a separate. Okay, good.
Mm-hmm.
Then we can still bring bottles.
So we'll double check before we go.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Benefits of the restaurant we talked about. You're going to have better checks. You're going to have people coming back. Sometimes you might be going, okay, well, we talked about cost of wines. They don't have to be that much. We kind of mentioned 15 to 25 for some solid whites from all over the country. I think about Alvarinhos, things like that. Reds, I think, are in the same category. I think you can go, 15 to maybe 30, 35.
Yeah.
Somewhere around there. But when I think about, Cote de Rhone,
Mm-hmm.
when I think about Chiantis, when you get into, back to Portugal again. Now, you got to have an open mind. You got to be willing to try a grape maybe you've never heard of,
Right.
but you can still be wowed by because, when you get to Portugal, sometimes it's a different grape there that maybe you haven't heard of.
Yeah, and you probably will still like it.
Well,
Like-
you might love it.
I think to me, what comes to mind is like Carbonara. Like most people haven't had Carbonara, but I mean, it's gonna give you that full body, that spice, that richness. Like usually finished in oak for 12 months.
It's a French grape.
Yeah,
It just happens to, get a lot of run down south.
and it's 10% the cost of a cab.
Yep.
Like, and you're
Yep.
gonna. And if I didn't tell you, you wouldn't know any better.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think crafting a smart, kind of approachable wine program, again, we're talking about price point, but I also don't think you need a huge list.
Right.
I think
Agreed.
based on the type of food you're serving, you could probably have 3 to 5 whites and maybe the same amount of reds, and you're done. So, to have this real estate that you think you might need to, take care of this inventory of wine, you really don't need a huge real estate to manage that. I mean, you could just get a 48 bottle wine fridge and you're good.
Yep.
For the most part, you're just going to be seeing your distributor maybe twice a week instead of once a week or something.
Yeah, and I agree. You don't need anything that large, especially starting off. Like just a minimum, just that small little purchase to get started, seeing how everything works, like what people like, what people are looking for, and then if you bought all this Italian wine and people are just like, oh well, I really want French wine, then cool, you know what you need to do next time, right? And then you buy a little bit of French wine. But I agree, 48 bottle wine fridge, that's perfect, especially for like a small little space.
Absolutely.
Just like see how it does.
Yep. But I do think that there's so many times I've been to a small restaurant that I really like their food, and they make a certain style of food, and then you look at the wine list that they do have, and you go, "Who helped you put this?" None of these. I mean, they could be okay, but there's some other bottles that would be fantastic with the food you're serving. Yeah. So I mean, just understanding the food that you're making, because there's some places you may go and you go, you don't have any French on here. No, because we're a pizza joint or whatever, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, like I just went to, well, I don't want to say their name, but like I just went to this one spot.
You can say their name if you want.
Well, it feels mean.
Oh, okay.
But
if it's a bad thing, don't do that.
And it's not mean. It's like I'm not trying to be mean. Like they don't know any better. And whenever I talked to them about it, he was all ears about like changing all the things. He just doesn't know. Like literally, it's just most of the time they just don't know, and they're just being berated by the one Republic rep that carries Meiomi Pinot Noir and Prisoner and like,
and said you should sell wine here.
And it's like, yeah, sell wine here. We'll give you, and they're really good at their jobs. Like they get crazy incentives and they give you free bottles and they're constantly knocking at your door and then all the things. But it's like I went to this diner and they're doing like pastries and like eggs and like sandwiches, and like their list is 3 reds and it's Meiomi Pinot. And what it was Bonanza cab, and it was another cab. It was like 2 cabs and a 15.
Don't say Josh.
And I think it was Josh.
Is everywhere.
It was like a 15%. Yeah, it was just like a 15% alcohol Pinot, and then 2 cabs for eggs and bacon. You can do better than that. Like a little Cremant in there, like a nice high acid white. You'd kill it.
Well, and you brought up something that just from what you said there made me think of a category we haven't touched on yet. Bubbles, sparkling. Oh, yeah. I mean, you can get some great bubbles. I think about a cava when I think, cost for quality. Yeah. Cavas can be great. Even Cremants. I love Alsatian Cremants, and retail on some of these are $16 to $22.
Yeah, we were just talking about the Gustave Laurent in your fridge, where you were like,
favorites.
"Oh, this is one of my favorites." I was like, "Oh yeah, I ran this by the glass for like a year. I love this wine."
Yeah, it's a great wine. So I didn't even think about that, but yeah, when you mentioned the brunch and the breakfast, I'm going. That screams
bubbles all day.
Yeah.
Yeah, and don't do mimosas. Just sell them the orange juice separate. Let them do their own thing.
There you go. I agree with you.
Like if I see a mimosa on the menu, I know that you're using Zonin Prosecco that you got for $2, and I don't want to touch that.
Yeah.
At least now, right? When I was 22, 100%.
All day long.
1 cent mimosas. Yes.
Yeah.
I was trying to get the job done.
When it was bottomless mimosas. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then if you are listening to this, so just if you don't want to talk to anybody and just are taking a moonshot on what to buy, Bubbles and Pinot Noir pair with pretty much everything. So when in doubt, get a decent Bubbles, get a decent Pinot Noir. And Bubbles just means sparkling wine.
And I would just throw into there, too, if you do anything with spice, get some Riesling with a little bit of residual sugar.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Riesling is just... Riesling is everything to anybody that knows about wine, but to people that don't know about wine, it's only the sweet wine.
Yeah.
Because almost everybody that I know that hates Riesling has only ever had a $7 Riesling from like Kroger, right?
And like made in New Mexico.
Right. Like nobody's had like a serious Riesling until they do, and then they're like, wait, this is actually kind of good. I'm like, yeah, it is.
And you and I were talking about that. That's because they like the sugar. These young wine palates like sugar. It takes a while, and you and I were talking about this, till you get to appreciate and like the acidity and the tannin that would be in a wine that gives it the structure and makes it go so well with food. And
then we were talking about pizza earlier, Lambrusco and pizza. Fuck yeah, all day,
by
every
the way,
day.
if you don't know, Lambrusco is a sparkling red out of a region in Italy. Mm-hmm. And again, $15-$20 a bottle.
Yeah, it's dirt cheap and
Yeah.
it's so good. And it's like places like Rosie Cannonball, right? Have you been there before?
No, but I've heard of it.
Rosie Cannonball, you go and they're like, "Can I pour you some Lambrusco?" Like while you're waiting, right?
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Absolutely.
Just right down my throat. Like,
Okay, are you a flute or non-flute guy?
I'm a non-flute guy.
Okay, good. Thank you.
But you know, if I'm getting a flute at a place where I'm just getting whatever, like sure, but no.
If you're ordering a bottle, do you tell them no flute? Bring me a white wine glass.
100%.
Okay,
yeah.
we do the same thing.
No, yeah.
I'll tell you a great place here that I don't think the food is overpriced by any means. I wouldn't call it casual, but I do want to give them. We love this place just because they have great wines at a good value. Is oh gosh, now I can't think of it. It's the French place, the Champagne House, down on West Alabama.
Oh, Champagne House?
It's got all the champagnes.
Oh, a boozy?
A boozy, thank
Okay.
you. You know,
They do have
walk
great
in.
pricing.
They have
and they have a lot of back
great-
vintage.
Yes, and they have some very cool wines that you're not going to see that a lot of people never heard of and
Yeah.
wouldn't even know it as they look through. They just go on.
Yeah. No, there's a lot of back vintage stuff, and yes, 100% focused on bubbles.
And they give you a bag of popcorn when you come in because they expect you to get a little bubbles and,
Yeah.
and it goes really well together. Yeah,
No, that is a good spot. I actually don't frequent that as much as I should.
yeah. They got great brunches.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
I'm in the Heights, and I feel like I just kind of stick to the Heights because getting to a boozy on like a Friday or like a Saturday Sunday is like a 22-minute drive.
People are listening, going 22 minutes. You know, what?
Yeah,
That's nothing.
it's just far enough. But I'm in the
What
Heights.
happens
There's
when you live in the city? You
Yeah.
don't want to go very far.
But I'm like the Heights is like in a 4-minute drive. I can get to
Yeah.
100 other restaurants
yeah.
that perform.
I do want to say, if you're going to have a wine list and you're going to get into wine at a casual place, I really think taking the snobbery of the menu, as you list these wines, don't give me all these, descriptors of the wine that are, I'll call it industry kind of descriptors.
Yeah.
Just keep it simple.
Keep it
fresh,
simple.
bright, red fruit. That's all I need to,
Right.
most people wouldn't even know acidity. Most
Yeah.
people wouldn't even know.
I would even go one further and saying that if you're at a small place and you're thinking about doing a wine list or you're going to do the wine list, just literally put sparkling, white, red, and that's it actually. Light red, full-bodied red maybe.
Yeah.
Because that will take care, or sparkling, white, rosé, red. Call it a day. And then just put name of the producer, name of the grape, and then vintage if that.
Oh,
I don't even think you need the vintage because you're buying the smaller lot stuff, which you probably won't if you buy another one that probably don't even have the same vintage yet.
Yeah.
Or
I can't tell you the number of times that you look at a menu at a wine list at a nicer restaurant, and I'll go, "Ooh, they have a 14."
yeah,
And
the
I'll
vintage is
order it,
wrong.
and then they bring it out and it's a 70. I'm going, "Whoa, that's
Yeah.
not what I ordered," and they don't change it.
And that's just keep the vintage out. If like
I agree.
at the price points that you're probably going to do for a smaller spot, it does. I don't care. Like
And if you're a nerd or a dork like me and you want to
then
know,
you get
then just
offended.
ask.
Yeah, or you'll
What's the vintage of that?
Yeah, and it's like if you don't tell me the vintage and I get any vintage, I'm fine. But if you tell me it's a 19 Chianti, then I'm gonna be like, oh hell yeah. And
Yeah.
then you bring me a 21, and I'm like, okay, well that's
Still a good
misleading.
year, but a little more
I'd
age
rather
would have
have
been
19,
nice.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's actually one of my digs on the what was the place I was just saying? The Italian one.
Colinas, or what is it called?
No, the Porta Vita.
Oh, Portofino.
But it makes sense because of the volume that they're doing. But it was
Yeah.
like I remember I ordered something and the vintage was wrong on the menu, and I was like, well, I only wanted it because of that vintage, but that's cool. I'll have this instead. Also didn't have that vintage. And I was like, that's fine. I don't care at this point. Like I'm not gonna play that all night. Like it's just
just bring me what you got.
yeah.
Yeah. The other thing we touched a little bit on earlier, is you don't need a sommelier, but you do need a little bit of education. You need your staff to be able to speak a little bit about the wines, kind of to give some expectation of what you're getting in the bottle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
And that's where you could help again.
Yeah, that's where I come in.
Yeah.
So one of the hurdles that I came across with Eden was training staff, and then I was training staff, and then they were having staff turnover, and so it was like I just spent a month training somebody on all this wine, and she was going to be the wine girl, and she was so excited to move up, and then just general stuff just comes up, and I come in one day and I'm like, hey, where's where's she at? And he's like, oh my God, man. He was like, she just walked out in the middle of a shift and I'm just like dealing with it. I was like, oh my God. I was like, okay.
Wow.
So it was like, so then from that point on, I'm like, okay, I see how this could be an issue for anybody moving forward. So then what I've started doing is like, whatever I pick up for the place, I go through and I make content on my page and tag
Oh, that's a reference
and tag them. And so I'm like, hey, if anybody asks about this wine, literally pull up my page or pull up your page, and here's all the info on this
that's
Ronchi
a
Barbaresco.
great idea.
So like, he called me the other day and he goes, hey, are we out of Barolo? And I was like, I'm not sure. If it's not there, it's not there. And he goes, yeah, I think we're out. I was like, but sell him the Barbaresco. I was like, if he wants Barolo, he knows he's going to spend $100 bucks.
Be happy with
and he's going to be so happy with the Barbaresco. I was like, the Barbaresco is better than the Barolo for me.
Yeah.
But I'm like, he's like, and tell me about the Barbaresco again. I was like, it's just, I literally just posted the video yesterday and then he sold it. And it's like, that's how it works. So I was like, just show him this video.
Yep.
I'm like, and I probably would, he probably followed me. I don't know.
You know, that's a great point. Your videos for them at Vine, or at Eden, they can just pull it up and they look for a wine. They can just pull up you describing that wine, and then there you go to the customer. It's done. Yeah. I didn't even think about that. That's a great tip.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
you're like the virtual somm.
I'm trying.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. Yeah, so I think, just a little bit of training, a little bit of knowledge. I think sometimes staff can be a little intimidated. They're like, wait a second, wine? I don't know anything about wine. But it's really not that hard when you break it down to just the simple components of a wine and what it offers.
And also on the training part, so not even just me, like this is not just plugging me, but so obviously I will train, but whatever distributor you're getting this stuff from, I would suggest working with one distributor if you're going to pick up only a couple of things, because if you're diluting, like if you're getting one case from this distributor, one case from this, one case from this, you really don't have any kind of like pull with the distributor. However, if you're buying 6 cases every other week from one distributor, you're a respected account. And so they'll send your rep will come by, he will train your staff, because if he trains your staff and your staff sells the wines,
you're going to order more.
You'll order more, he'll make more money, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So like if you're picking up wines from just one distributor, like you'll do better that way than picking up a case from your friend over here and a case from your friend over here.
That's a great point.
And they'll train, they'll do events, they'll do
tastings,
they'll bring sample bottles. Like there's so many things you could do with the reps, and that's all things we can talk about like that whenever, right?
Yeah, we're gonna definitely do some more shows. Well, let's close out this episode talking about let's talk about some casual type of concepts that should be considering wine if they don't already.
Sure.
Jumping to mind, I've said it a couple times, pizzerias.
Yeah,
would jump to mind. People might be surprised if I say barbecue.
Oh no.
Wine goes with barbecue. Most people, most people would go, pizza, that's beer all day. Okay, it's fine. But wines, I'm going to take wine over beer for pizza.
Me too. And I used to drink a lot of beer, and now I'm just, if I have one beer, I'm so unbelievably bloated. Like it just doesn't do it for me.
And you're young. Yeah.
And like, however, I can drink like 6 bottles of white wine and I'll be fine. I'll wake up the next morning. I'm ready for the gym. Like it's so much nicer to my body.
Well, and I love the Italians, and I think it's across Europe. They're kind of their motto for as you drink, if you're starting to feel tipsy, you know how you solve that, right?
Drink more?
No. Eat more food. Don't stop drinking.
Okay, yeah.
Just go eat something.
Yeah, just go get some more food.
Yeah.
Eat another slice.
Don't stop drinking. Most people in America go, I got to slow down, man. I'm starting. No. Just get some bread. Let's get some more food. You're good.
I like it.
I like that. Yeah, gastropubs. I think taco shops. I think a lot of people think, well, if we're going to go have tacos or Mexican food, I got to have a margarita. That's fine.
That is fine.
We're just saying wine can go there as well. It's not excluded from these kind of places. It can be included.
I agree.
Yeah.
I had a friend who recently started somewhere in Memorial. It was like a taco, and they did tacos, wine, and something else. And I never checked back in on how it did, but I know he was doing well.
Travis Thompson mentioned that. He said he did that tasting because he's an importer. He said it was a huge hit.
Okay, it was.
He said it was such a huge hit. And I'm trying to remember what he called it because it was a fun play on words.
Yeah.
for the wine and the tacos and stuff. And he goes, man, it was a huge hit. Everybody loved it. And that just goes to our point that we think this is an area where if you're into wine and you like this kind of food, you want to see good wine there. It's also an opportunity that if you like this kind of food and you're not drinking wine, maybe you'll try it by the glass program and go, hey, hold on a second. This is freaking good. I need to start maybe having a little more wine. And to your point, you pick up a bottle or two as you leave the establishment.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and that kind of gets on what I'm talking about, which is, these kind of places, and in general, let's make wine inclusive instead of exclusive. I think too many times people feel excluded when wine's involved. I think there's a big reason for that is intimidation.
Yeah.
So let's dummy wine down. Let's make it simple. Let's not make people think they have to have the right knowledge to drink wine. Just drink it. Do you like it? If you like it, cheers. We're good to go.
Yeah. And and so you were saying what kind of places would do well, and you're right. Pizza places are probably at the top of that list. Burger places definitely deserve a spot on that list because all I can ever get at a burger place is a beer, and I never want a beer. So
yeah.
And then if they do have wine, it's always stuff that I don't want to drink, right? Like it's the really commercial California Reds that I'm never going to drink that either. So I'll order a Coke or something, just something with some acid and sugar.
Yep.
And what else would do really well?
I'm going to throw out that I've seen some mom and pop Italian places that make good food.
Yeah.
That just
I guess
have.
Also, almost every Italian place. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, they got to get a better curated wine list.
Yeah, you're right. And it wouldn't take that much more effort. Like
it really wouldn't. And obviously burger joints.
Yeah.
I think if it's a come in, sit down, enjoy a burger kind of setup, and you offer beer and you offer wine, offer a good wine.
Yeah.
It's not going to be that much more cost to you, but I'll tell you your margin on selling that glass or bottle is going to be way better.
Much better, agreed. And same thing with sushi places. I always want white wine. Just white wine. We were talking about this like more and more. You really like white wine now. I'm like, yes, I pretty much exclusively drink white at this point.
Yep.
And sushi places are one of those places where it's like, okay, y'all are buying all this expensive whiskey, so obviously somebody here knows what they're doing. But like, why is your by the glass like everything
Rombauer.
I don't want a Rombauer with my fatty tuna. Like. It's just, I think that's probably the closest. Maybe they're probably on the come up next because there's places that are doing it well, like Himari, right? Like I remember Himari would come over and be like, "Hey, what do you think this would do well?" I'm like, "Oh, get the Sandy Chardonnay. Oh, get this Albert Boxler, like the Albert Boxler Edelswicker, like that with any kind of seafood would be so good." And they have a cool wine list. Like it's 3 or 4 wines by the glass, right? But like. Anything that you order, like they're badass. Like that's all you need. Like I don't need, as somebody that drinks wine, like I don't need to go in there and have a choice of 20 different wines. Just something good that will do well with this.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. I'm trying to think if there's any other places we've missed that are kind of typical. I don't know that we are. You got Italian, you got Asian, you got barbecue, you got gastro pizzas.
I guess Tex-Mex is the other big one just because that's such a large cuisine here in Houston. And I do find myself constantly wanting a glass of wine at Tex-Mex.
Do you really?
Yeah, but it's also like, I would get why that's more of an uphill climb. Like, I don't know that you're going to be selling wine every day.
Yeah.
But still, it's one of those, like, I still see that there's wine on the list. Like, you go to Lupe Tortilla, they have wine, but it's like
I can tell you, I've never noticed wine at a Mexican restaurant.
It's like Louis Martini, and I couldn't even tell you what else, but I know they have it, and I'm like, okay, well, instead of spending $14 for that, like buy this, but then Lupe Tortilla is very commercial, and so they come into that effect of like, I read something once where it's like if McDonald's wanted to do like this blueberry pie, but if McDonald's did a blueberry pie, then like almost all the blueberry production in the entire world would go to McDonald's to be able to make the blueberry pie. And so I think that's why maybe that's a hurdle with like the bigger places like a Lupe Tortilla where it's like, okay, there's 57 of them in Houston, right?
Is there
like,
that many?
I don't know. I'm making that number up, but I'm not far off.
There's at least 10. Is there more than?
There's at least 40.
Oh shit! Okay, I
No,
did
there's
not
a
know
shit
that.
ton of them, and they're in
Okay.
Austin and Colorado now. Like they're everywhere.
I did not realize that.
But like that's probably why they have Louis Martini, because they don't need 47 different Psalms
And it's
picking out
distributed
wine.
everywhere.
Right.
It's easy
just,
to get.
It's just easy.
Yeah.
So
And
I get that, but I guess I'm veering off, and we need to talk about mom and pop shops, right?
Yeah.
But like the like you're at Cuchara or like these other places, and they make some mindful selections. I see some of like the French country wine stuff gets on there, and obviously it's not getting pushed except for like mimosas, but
Yeah.
but that's still just like if they had something a little better, I wouldn't mind drinking some wine every now and
Yeah,
then.
it's funny. I've never thought that, but if I cook Mexican food at home, I'm having wine.
Yeah.
But when I go to a Mexican restaurant, I guess in my mind, I've just thought they don't
Mine's-
offer it.
Yeah, and I drink a lot of mezcal, so I'm kind of lost in the sauce there anyway.
Okay, you're happy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, man, this has been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I've enjoyed the conversation.
This was a blast.
Yeah, and I look forward to having you back on. We'll find some fun topics and have some conversations about them. This has been a good time. I appreciate you coming on and doing this.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for opening this CDP Blanc.
Yeah, you like it?
It's delicious.
All right,
Yeah,
cool.
this is right up my alley.
Sweet. All right, everybody. Thanks for listening to this episode of Bottles and Bites Without Borders, and we'll see you guys on the next one.